Boys, girls, all my traumaholics out there and all this light night out there. Welcome back to Other Robert. This is a review. Okay, let us just throw that out there right now. It is a review. We say review in the title.
There's even review in the video description box.
Yeah, there's review everywhere. You should know that
it's there twice.
It is in fact a review.
Yes.
Okay, so
just to address it, sometimes I don't edit the icons and review. The South Park is in season 20, so that's a lot of time. That's a lot of characters. So if the word review gets cut off, it's not intentional, but it's there.
Review is always there.
It's there. This is a review channel.
Yeah.
So anyway,
with that disclaimer, welcome back to Other Robert. This is, of course, Joe and Rob, and we're talking South Park season 20, episode 2,
Skank Hunt.
What'd you think, Rob?
Do you remember? I loved it. My favorite scene by far was the return of the member berries with the school counselor and talking about Jurassic Park, because I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. And I would say Scott's love of Twitter is probably my favorite thing about the episode, and Cartman's destruction of property.
Yeah, and how dramatic that got.
Those are my top 3 favorite moments.
This was a great episode. And as always, guys, this is a review. It's a discussion, though. So we're going to talk, and then we want to know what you guys thought about this episode and what you think of the season so far. Only 2 episodes, but
so far so good. I think it's so far my favorite.
Fantastic.
I've watched.
Yeah. We see they're going with canon again this season.
They've been doing that for 2 years, so it makes sense.
They did 18, 19, and they're doing it again. 18, I thought was very weak. They were trying it out. 19 was much better, and it seems like this will even be better than that. This was a very funny episode, but at the same time, very dramatic, but in a funny way. And
yeah, I mean, I would say the most dramatic scene came towards about the last 10 minutes of the episode, but it was probably one of my favorite things in South Park history.
Well, the bridge was a very dramatic scene.
That's true.
But with Heidi Turner, I thought something. I thought that it was going to get much darker than it did. But
I think the episode. Sorry, I just want to say I think the episode, because last week it was very much turd sandwich and giant douchebag. I liked how they did. Dude. Thank you. Close enough. I liked how they pulled away from that, but still slightly referenced it, but then focused on the problem of online trolls. I like that.
Yeah, until they get to around episode 10 and 9, around there, I think their best bet right now is to focus on individual episodes with some connection. And we saw that here. We had really our own story here, but with the connection to the previous episode with Gerald having a very prominent role, we see that even more so in this episode. It was pretty much acknowledged last time, and it was pretty much a catalyst for some of the things that went on in last week's episode. However, he was at the forefront here pretty much, and it felt like its own thing in that right. And it was very funny. I mean, the scenes of him trolling was honestly
some of the lines I don't want to say on the channel, but they were very funny. I try to keep the channel, the title I don't even like, because I try to keep the channel relatively at a family-friendly level, and that's a horrible thing. It's never that. I mean, the discussion we can always keep, but the title of this episode was bad.
But
in a good way.
Very funny episode, very memorable episode. I will say that too. I said last week that I was scared that besides the animation really of the member berries and kind of their vocal patterns, it wasn't going to be a memorable episode. And I think I'm pretty much right that besides for the inclusion of member berries, I don't think it was memorable. This week's was very memorable. That cabin scene with Cartman was so well done in terms of just the drama that they built up to that, the walk to the cabin and just the scene of it happening and the fallout with Kyle in school. It was very well done. And
I like that, for someone who kind of had this jaded view of Cartman, where he was kind of he was literally an ass. He wasn't really known to be this very sympathetic character. And then I sympathized with him here because his stuff was ruined, and he was falsely accused of being the troll. And I didn't think that was fair.
Yeah, it's rare that it's season 20. Season 20, we've seen Cartman be responsible for so many dastardly things. And I'm not going to say this is the first time Cartman wasn't responsible for something they thought it
He was innocent
was.
for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it was the first time. I don't remember off the top of my head. But it's definitely rare that he's not the one and they think he is.
Right.
So to see him kind of get his comeuppance when it wasn't even warranted here was
I felt bad for him.
yeah, they did kind of make you feel
Well,
bad, especially when he's just walking in the school afterwards. He's one for revenge, and I still think he will get that revenge.
Oh, I do too. They broke his computer. They broke his iPad.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who owns a MacBook for this office and an iMac for one upstairs, an iPad and an iPhone, like breaking those would be devastating because I just depend on them. So I felt bad. I like this animated character who I've normally never liked. I felt very bad for.
Yeah. And I mean, it all circles back to Gerald in a way. And I said last week that they're sort of making Gerald the villain in a way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to reiterate that fact tonight. They are kind of making him a villain in this, what is a very canon type show now that we've seen the past couple of seasons. Last season, it seemed like PC Principal was going to be the villain, and it kind of switched to Leslie. But it seems so far that Gerald will become villain because especially his acts are starting to lead to some bigger things here. And all, the Denmark stuff, the stuff in school, all of that happened, Cartman stuff, all of that happened because of Gerald's actions. So I'm curious that once Gerald, it kind of comes out that it's him because it's inevitable, if we're going to see Cartman get his revenge on Gerald.
Yeah, maybe he'll forgive his friends for breaking his stuff.
I don't think Cartman's not a forgiver, so I think he'll get his friends back. But I think Gerald will definitely have some repercussions. I'm curious.
It's one of those interesting stories because they have to find out that it's not him, and then he has to forgive them, and then they have to, I guess, bring him back into the group. It's like it's a whole thing that will have 8 more episodes to play out with.
I said this last season towards the end of the season that I was curious what they were going to do with the next episode, and I was very intrigued in the story that they're kind of building. It's not some Breaking Bad type story here.
No.
But it's just the way they're tackling it in this very bizarre comedic sense. It's intriguing in that way because you don't really see this much else, especially tackled in this way. So especially episode 2, I'm already saying it. I'm intrigued. I can't wait to see where this goes. So the story's already sold me for the season, which is crazy.
Shocking. Yeah. Last thing I want to talk about, I know I said it a little bit ago. I really, as someone who is an advocate of social media, we have this channel, we have our individual Instagram, Facebook, XX. Scott's obsession with Twitter, I thought was so funny. Like I just thought it was so funny, especially when you had told me earlier that Scott really gets the brunt of it for being a diabetic, and for him to actually have an interesting character moment here, I loved.
Yeah, this might have been the only time that he was on the show where I don't believe diabetes was mentioned once.
Well, anyway, I just felt very bad for him, especially where he's considering Twitter to be like very morbid. I like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got that from the beginning with Heidi Turner. I love the way they tackled that. How they said that, first of all, that was her response to everything, was just to delete Twitter, and they were making it seem like, that's clever. That's funny. That's like saying you could always just delete your Twitter if you're getting,
But you have 30 days to reactivate it if you delete it.
It was just, that was their social commentary on it. So It was interesting to see that. Especially from South Park. South Park always manages to get some pretty clever and interesting social commentary. So that was South Park season 20, episode 2. Let us know what you guys thought. This is where we end the video, and this is where we find out what you guys thought of this episode and what you're thinking of this season so far and how it ranks as seasons 18 and 19, because those also had to do with this very canon type story. So subscribe because it takes around that much effort to do so. And until next time, guys, you've been traumatized and lightened up.
Thank you, Joe, for that ending. Last thing I want to know, Jurassic Park scene, so good. Do you remember Jeff Goldblum? I remember Jeff Goldblum. Anyway, thank you all for tuning into this review. Share your thoughts about the episode in the comments below. Joe already took us out, so I'm going to end the stream now. Good night, guys.